All right. Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. Tonight, you're about to discover the hidden ETF trigger TG Watkins has used for over 12 years to identify major market turns, including a recent 120% move on ONDS using this exact framework. As the creator of the Moxie Indicator and a former engineer and pilot, TG brings a level of precision and structure to trading that cuts through noise and emotion. In this session, he's going to show us how he applies this silent market signal across stocks, ETFs, and fast moving setups, especially in today's volatile, choppy market. Well, I'm looking forward to this as well. It looks like the technology is working. People can see and hear. Your screens look perfect, TG. Believe the hard part's out of the way, my friend. Take her away. The stage is set and the floor is yours.
All right, thank you everybody. Appreciate it, Daryl. Let's see, are we good to go? You guys can hear me. We'll get a thumbs up and everything. Looks like we're nicely loaded here. I assume I got my screens up and also confirm that you guys are recording on your end. Looks like I've got the record button, so hopefully we're good to go on that one. And then for you lucky fine folks that are actually here in the room with you, I'll throw the webcam on for you as well. And that way, I know it's a little bit more engaging sometimes. Otherwise, you're just staring into a blank screen and watching this kind of stuff. So it can get a little tedious. But I've got a lot of interesting things. This market has been all over the place, and so I've added a few extra slides at the beginning of this presentation to kind of cover some of the recent activity, as we all know. It has certainly been a challenge to navigate, but we're doing it. We're making some heads and tails of this kind of market, and just remember, I keep telling my subscribers and the Moxie traders that if the market's challenging right now, just don't lose your money. This is when you kind of hunker down a little bit, take some pot shots here and there, practice your skills. But otherwise, one day the market is going to be great again. It's going to be awesome. It's going to come back. It just has to go through periods like this. Even the market itself is in a giant squeeze. So whether we break out to the downside or to the upside, at some point we are going to get some energy. We're going to get some tradable things, and that's really what we're going to be doing for. And actually, maybe we even got some seasonality coming up. February is usually a pretty seasonally weak. We've been seeing that. And then kind of takes a little bit of time for March to warm up. And we're coming into March. We've got the class coming up on the 7th. And so I think that if you guys are signing up for that, you're going to be hitting the ground running coming into the seasonality for the strength of the rest of the year. So I am looking forward to that. Anyway, let's dive into this. Remember, this is for educational purposes only, so let's leave those lawyers at home and twiddling their thumbs. And then we come over here, and for tonight, what we're going to be discussing is how the Moxie Indicator sees beyond price and identifies precise setups on any chart. And I will be showing you those, especially some of the new ones that are coming up right now, given the current events and the activity in the market. How leverage ETFs helped me generate 420% in six months using just stock for that account, with hidden signals that predict major market turns. That one on its own has been a very interesting one. This is something that I've been looking at and learning for years, and really at the bottom of 2020 confirmed, and then again in 2025 at the bottom of the tariff tantrum. That's where I got my 2,060% trade, was because of this signal, and I was like, okay, now I'm totally a believer in it. And now that we're seeing a plethora of these leverage ETFs come out, it's kind of fun. And then how to trade zero DT options for daily income the Moxie way, without complex setups or the Greeks. So again, I kind of take things, I do it my own way. I make it a little bit simpler, and I bring it into the way that I look at the markets. And I found that was actually it really resonated with the zero DT stuff. And that is also what helped me land that big options trade at the bottom of the tariff tantrums. All right, yeah, good to see you guys. Any kind of questions, the team's there in the chat. They'll help you and direct you in the right places. All right, so current events. So this is the S&P, SPX, and I go back, I think probably almost 2 years as far as this example goes. And what I want to show you is the Moxie indicator when it gets below zero, and it gets below zero, and we've gotten below zero. And each time it has predicted, or at least demonstrated, that the market is going to get weak. And to generally not trust the up move after that if the Moxie indicator is persisting below zero. I'm going to get a little bit more detailed into this, but generally, I wanted to show you kind of the overall snapshot of how the Moxie indicator has been able to tell us, hey, now's not a good time to be aggressively long in the market, or at least in the SPX. Now, the last two times we've seen this, we have gotten a pretty big drawdown. We know this one was the tariff tantrums as well. This one has been interesting. It's been a little bit different. Underneath the surface, yeah, there has been severe destruction. Even the mega caps have come down. There's been a lot of weakness under the surface, but amazingly, the powers that be, the hand of God, has managed to balance the market out such that the defensive stocks have managed to keep the indices pretty well balanced. And so even though the market hasn't necessarily fallen off a cliff, and we'll have to see if that actually happens or not, but it has told us that this is unlikely to go higher until we reset whatever kind of weakness that we're getting. And then you come over here. This was 2 days ago that I made this post. You can see for me, I'm on the West Coast. So this was 10 minutes, 12 minutes before the market closed. And I said, okay, we put on a short for WDC. It actually worked out the next day, but then bounced. And I said, the VIX and the UVIX are looking pretty ripe. And I said, I wonder if this is because of the market is going sideways, global conflict, or if the market is actually telling us it might actually start to move down. And I said, probably a combo. And immediately the next day is when we got that huge drop, which was yesterday, if you guys remember that. And so, yeah, this is the kind of communication that I give to the Moxie traders inside of the Moxie room. And this is the kind of nuance that I look at every single day to watch and figure out what the market's going to do. Now, even though the market bounced back today, we did see this as far as a potential drop 2 days ago, and we got that drop yesterday. So I wanted to show you guys that. And then a little bit on the greener side, as we have been seeing this market kind of work through its challenges. And if you guys have seen my weekly watch list from the early part of this week, and then I did the free and premium videos yesterday, I was saying, hey, I think there's kind of a rotation happening again. Maybe we're starting to see money come out of the defensive stocks and actually move into the extremely oversold sectors, one of those being crypto. And if we look at this, this is MSTR. You can see at MSTR, we got the daily chart on the left, hourly chart on the right. And I think that this little kerplunk that we had a few weeks back, really, really big washout. You can see the volume in the background, huge volume on those 2 days. I think that's a capitulation low. And you can see that since then, the MSTR, so Bitcoin crypto, has been basically basing, and we are actually starting to get a little bit of traction to the upside. We'll have to see how far this goes and what this all looks like. But the Moxie Indicator, you can see right here, fired a few days ago, and then is firing currently on the daily chart. And so this is where I've been starting to guide the Moxie traders and you all through some of the free videos that, hey, I think something is happening here. And the Moxie Indicator was able to tell us that we were starting to get some buoyancy, some pressure to the upside on here. So definitely don't be short anymore on these kind of names. And so I think we're up, we got the leverage ETF, I think we're up 18% in just a handful of days on something like this. And of course, BMNR, Ethereum, they should be coming along. And so, yeah, I think that this looks to me like this has bottomed, and I'm looking for them to continue moving upward in some sort of fashion. One other thing, and I was discussing this while live on the mic in our trading rooms today, is looking at some of the put call ratio or the short interest. And the one on the right is about 3 weeks old. So just kind of keep that in mind, but I'm sure this hasn't totally abated. The short interest in the XLK sector, which is the tech sector, and we know that has been where a lot of the weakness has been, is just at some record levels. So we need to keep that in mind, because even though it has been working and the market has been going down and has been weak, we need to understand that it's also struggling to actually get anywhere on the downside. And at some point, when we have everybody kind of thinking the same thing, we have the short interest so high, we need to kind of be careful that the market might actually flip. And so I'm keeping that in mind too. And then you can see here on the left-hand side, this is basically put delta positioning, and you can see it's pretty heavy. A lot of puts going on down there. Just again, kind of almost a record number. So it just kind of seems though the market, we're all looking for it. It's kind of like that really slow motion steamroller that was in Austin Powers, that scene. We're all waiting for this thing to come over and crash. And I don't know, yesterday felt interesting with the market dropping down and actually recovering, and a little bit more follow through to the upside today. So still in chop, but I would certainly be careful on the short side. Okay, and then if we look at this, the oversold tickers are catching a bid. This is more of kind of what I'm looking at. Let me show you the IWM. So first, to show you one of the signs, like I showed you on the SPX, we had price over here, the Moxie indicator down. That's a bearish signal, and you can see we in fact got that. And then finally we got the market to flip. And then right here, what started this whole thing, you can see that the Moxie indicator on the hourly chart for IWM several weeks ago flashed red. And even though we had a pretty big move back up here, since the Moxie indicator was persisting below zero, that was telling me that, hey, we really should be careful on the long side. It's probably not going to be working right now. And so far, you can see that this has been perfectly getting rejected in through here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But then we have the push-pull of, hey, now do we have a double bottom? So this is why we've been careful on both the short side and long side. And I know the market has just been driving us crazy, but there very much could just be a range here. And I'm trying to look for the first sign of any direction that this is going to go. Have a Palantir. Again, maybe some geopolitical events, but also I think that Palantir, along with, say, Robinhood and SoFi and a couple other names, have just really, really gotten completely oversold, at least for the moment. And you can see the Moxie indicator actually started calling that on the hourly chart just a few days ago. So once again, Moxie indicator telling us that the energy and momentum is starting to actually kind of move to the upside. So if we're kind of getting back into what I saw as far as the whole tariff tantrum situation, I wanted to go through this. I know a lot of people either have seen this or maybe haven't. And this is kind of the big thing that I really wanted to, because I know that the tariff tantrums really hurt a lot of people. You know, a lot of people are pissed. Everybody's pulling their hair out for that. I know it was just a bad time. But the Moxie indicator was here to help you right here. Notice that the Moxie indicator actually fired right there. That was the number one signal that I was looking at. And I just realized the other week that it was about a week and a half ago, I was actually at the money show in Las Vegas right when the market actually made new all-time highs. And then it immediately rolled over that. And so the Monday that I got back, I actually went to cash right in through here. And so I really want to know, like, if you guys had the Moxie indicator, or if you had some sort of way to know that this was unlikely to keep going higher and was about to actually roll over, do you think your account would be better? You think you'd be a little bit better off? I think so too. And so that was the whole thing. And then we were using the Moxie indicator to look beyond price and actually figure out when to get back in at the absolute bottom of this tariff tantrum. So here's the thing. This is my 2025 claim to fame as far as, yeah, golf now. That's cool. Good to see you here, man. But yeah, this is kind of my claim to fame for 2025. We had the red Moxie price trigger up here, which gave me the heads up. We made new all-time highs. I was at the money show. We were talking about that, and I said, well, you know, I've got some caution, but as long as this keeps going, okay. And then the Monday that I got back from the money show, this thing continued to roll over. That is when I send out the really big alert to the Moxie traders and said, go to cash. I'm going to cash. And that was huge, because what that meant is immediately as the market was starting to roll over like this, we missed the entire thing, which was great. Now it meant that we're in cash. Our brain is fine. We're level-headed. We don't have to worry about too much. And now we can kind of swing trade here and there, or day trade or something like that. It just meant we avoided all of that headache. And so that was a huge thing. And then once the market actually bottomed in through here, this is another one of my patterns, specifically an elf shoe. And then I'll show you what the Moxie price trigger looks like on the next slide. But this is where it came in all hot and heavy. I saw that sign on those leverage ETFs, and I took my options account, but 90% of my options account in this one trade. It was the SOXL trade. It lasted for us 28 days. It was a 30-day option, lasted 28 days. Turned $46,000 into $719,000 in 30 days, as we absolutely nailed the bottom of the market and rode this thing all the way up and through some of those negotiations that was going on at the time. So here it is. Here was the thing that actually allowed me to pinpoint the low of the market, was the Moxie price trigger right there. Now, trading doesn't have to always be overly complicated and mysterious. I know we're human, so we kind of like to make it kind of crazy like that. And always, if we can do something, we can do it even better. So we complicate things a lot. But the Moxie indicator does an incredible job at timing entries like this. And that's what I just showed you even at the beginning of today's session, is look at the Moxie indicator when it goes red. It's going to give you a heads up that things might be coming down. And look at the Moxie indicator when it starts to go green, and we're starting to see some moves up from these oversold positions and tickers. And you know, we know the semiconductors, well, heck, the whole market was oversold during the tariff tantrums and all that. And so you can see just right here, I mean, the Moxie indicator even fired on the lows. I mean, I don't even make this stuff up. It just worked like that. But you can see we've had our level and we had some positive divergence. And so we saw this coming. And I actually got in a day early on this thing. It kind of came down a little bit further and then just absolutely turned around and spiked all the way up like this. Stephen, the Moxie indicator I think works really, really well with the squeeze. I always reference that. And it's because, for the most part, squeeze is kind of a neutral thing. I know we've added a couple bells and whistles to it recently, but the squeeze just tells you when you're in a period of consolidation and you're about to go to expansion. The Moxie indicator helps give you that timing because really we look for that Moxie price trigger and then a couple other rules that I have with it. So I think that they complement each other extremely well. All right, and so this was, here are the receipts for that tariff tantrum trade. We absolutely nailed the lows due to the clear and repeatable signals that the Moxie indicator provides and the heads up that it provides, because it doesn't just flash the Moxie price trigger, it actually starts to show you that divergence that we're looking for. And then, so even if you're new to options, like I was, remember, I used to be just a stock trader. And I know the team over at Simpler always kind of give me a hard time, like, okay, you're going to be drinking the Kool-Aid. One of these days, you're going to be trading options. Well, sure enough, I did. And so here I am trading options. And I just want you guys to know that the Moxie indicator and how I teach this stuff and how I help you learn how to trade the stock market is really you just learn how the market moves. And then you can start wrapping more complicated trades around it, more setups, more options if you guys want. You can, go long or short or, sell premium, anything like that. But this is really my path was going from stock into options. And it's really because of the Moxie indicator and those principles that allowed me to do this. And you can see here that allowed my stock account to go 420% in 6 months. And of course, you guys know what my options account did. I forget even what the math was on that one, but 2,061% gain on that one trade in 28 days for that one. All right, so again, I know we've got quite a few new people in here, so I just wanted to reintroduce myself. I am TG Watkins, Director of Stocks. I guess you could also say maybe some options out there too, over at Simpler Trading. And just came back from the money show in Las Vegas, and here we are in the Vegas money show, 2024. And I just want you guys to know, I really was on your side of the table or the computer. My dad actually took me to a stock trading seminar when I was 12, looking just like this. And really, for the most part, they were talking about Fibonacci, this and that, and whatever, and it was all over my head. It didn't really make that much sense. But I knew it was important, and I knew that I needed to kind of absorb whatever I could. And so I remember during a break, I asked one of the mentors, one of the coaches up there, and I said, "Hey, is there a way to actually do this?" And he said, "Absolutely. None of us were born knowing how to trade, so therefore you can learn it." And I thought, okay, well, if you can learn it, you can also teach it. If it's teachable, it's learnable. And I figured, okay, then this can work. I just need to figure it out. And that was the thing that really kept me on track when I was trying to learn this, and I had some challenges and everything else like that. And several years later, I'm now on this side of the camera and the screen and up on the platform and dealing with John Carter and everything else like that. And it's pretty fun. And I'm here to show you guys my journey and what I've learned along the way, and kind of communicate that stuff to you. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this and see some of the tips and tricks that I'm going to be showing you today. So a little bit more. I've always kind of joked that I have expensive hobbies. I know some of you guys out there too have some expensive hobbies and have things you want to pay for. And the market is one of those areas that we can kind of leverage our skills and our talents to make more money. And so with my engineering type brain, I like to work on just about anything. And so I took that aptitude and I really kind of applied it to the stock market. And we got a lot of pilots, I know we got a lot of engineers. You don't have to be like that in order to trade the market. For me, that is what worked. And I think that since my dad is also a pilot instructor when he was in the Air Force, that's a lot rubbed off on me. And so I think that the way that I see the market and how I communicate the market to other people really resonates with a lot of subscribers. And so they can see the market more clearly when I teach them and show them kind of stuff. The brighter side is like, hey man, yeah, we nailed the market today. And then Michael, thank you, appreciate it, got the magic. But yeah, you can see here, this is our Mall MX7 doing the annual working on. I think that's a spark plug that I'm probably working on. And this is my 1977 Camaro. My parents actually helped me buy this $1,500 back when I was graduating 8th grade and moving into high school. Spent 2 years restoring it, and that's my baby. And then family, always good hanging out with them. We took a little trip to go see a hot air balloon festival. So fun times. And then, as being a pilot, like I said, engineer kind of have that mindset, but as a pilot, that really has instilled a lot of discipline to me. And because if you're reckless and you don't pay attention to your checklist, you can really damage your airplane or just have a bad day. It's going to be expensive and potentially dangerous. And so I took that kind of discipline and actually applied that to trading. So we do have a checklist, and I look at this, and I take the kind of the same discipline and look at for trading, so that I make sure that every step of the way we're reasonable with what we do. I don't just kind of do it seat of the pants kind of thing. And so, even though I could have gone into aviation or engineering as far as any of my future paths, I did actually kind of go into finance. I was with New York Life for a few years doing a financial advisor. I I always kind of knew about the market. My dad, I grew up around it. He was an investor, and so I spent years studying all this kind of stuff, and it really didn't make any sense to me. But I knew that I wanted that freedom, and I wanted that ability to leverage my time, which I think the stock market does for us. And so after kind of looking at all the things out there and studying from other people, I just couldn't consistently find why price moved. And again, that's the engineer brain inside of me. Like, how does this work? Obviously, people are making money. I just got to figure out how this thing works. And so, kind of the way that I did it was a process of elimination. I needed to figure out, okay, what doesn't work? Because there's so many different options out there, so many different things, and so many different coaches and methods of training. I just needed to kind of keep whittling it down. And I just started looking at this, and I really had a mentor who's very wealthy. He did well for himself, of course, and he had people that followed him. His chart really looked like this. It had so much stuff on it. I couldn't even see price. I'm like, how are you supposed to trade when you can't even see price? So I knew that wasn't going to work for me. I needed to keep things a little bit more simple and cleaner. And so as I started going through it and studying moving averages and just kind of price, I started looking at this. And what I realized was you look at one chart or one price activity and you think, okay, so price failed that moving average. But then you look at this one, it's like, well, price actually bounced off that moving average. And again, the engineer in me thinking, okay, why is this happening? How is this happening? I just need to figure out why. Because each of these could have been a winning trade, whether you short it or go long. But if you didn't know how to read them properly, then you're going to lose money and you don't have an edge. And so I knew that this was kind of a long learning curve for me, and definitely losing money here and there. And I kept stressing over this kind of stuff. I just kept digging into it. And so really, I mean, again, I'm sure you guys kind of relate to the death by a thousand small cuts or small losses. I'm sure some of us have blown up accounts, but it's just like day after day, just can't quite figure out the market. You think it's going to work, and then it kind of turns around on you. Trust me, I tried just about everything. I went through a few different mentors, lots of different classes. I know you guys are here. I could be just another person to you guys, but this is our journey. And I just couldn't find a simple, objective way to profit from trades until I started looking at it a little bit differently. I think also, you guys, if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, I know maybe it's getting a little bit older now, but dating myself a bit, but awesome movie. It really is an awesome movie. And I just remember looking at charts, and it's just overwhelming. You don't even know what you're looking at. I mean, it really looks like the Matrix in this case. You're like, what am I doing here? But over the course of time, and this is kind of where the inspiration comes from if you guys are having some troubles out there. I think that through my teaching, and think about the Matrix, like download this into your brain. As I teach you guys and show you these patterns and show you how I see the market, they'll just start clicking, because this is what you need to do. If you don't know what you're looking at, but then somebody starts to show you, then you see it. And once you see it, you know it. You don't unsee it. And that's kind of where, my elf shoe pattern or my 5250 or anything else that I teach, people always kind of see that. If anybody looking at the camera, if you go over and look my left shoulder, you'll see I got some elf shoes up there. And that's because one of those patterns I use. And so now I really feel like I can see through the matrix, and now the market really speaks to me. And so you just need to spend enough time with the market and have people show you a few things. Just give you that little bit of an edge, give you that leg up, and then you can actually start seeing what the market is doing. And so we go back to those two charts, where one of them was where price went below the moving average, and one of them went above the moving average. And you kind of figure, okay, if there's money to be made here, even on the long side or the short side, how do we figure it out? And the number one thing that I figured out, other than the Moxie indicator, was you step down one time frame. And so right when price was coming into that moving average, you look a little bit lower and you realize this, like, oh, price is not even holding the lower time frames. You're underneath the moving averages on the lower time frame. Now you do look at the Moxie indicator, and look at that, the Moxie indicator is below zero. And so that gave you the heads up. And it's all about kind of seeing the heads up, seeing the first portion of that move. That told you that price was actually going to start failing through that moving average. Now, how about this one, where price is coming into the moving average and actually goes up? Well, how would we know about this? Well, you start looking at this, couple heads up here. Notice the double bottom. Notice the positive divergence on the Moxie indicator. And then notice how price actually started to hold the moving averages on the lower time frames. And then notice that the Moxie price trigger actually started to fire. See how they're very different? It's the same moving average, same basic setup on this higher time frame, but it was the lower time frame that really kind of gave us that edge to figure out exactly which way this was going to go and then help carry that particular trade. And the Moxie indicator with my rules helps figure that out for you, as long as you guys know what it is that I'm teaching you. That's the whole matrix situation. And so as I was doing this and I was trying to learn about the Moxie indicator, coming up with stuff and learning from other people. And, again, I listen to a lot of people. I'm sure you guys listen to a lot of people too. And that's why you're trying to find somebody that resonates with you. For me, all the squiggly lines just didn't work for me. A lot of indicators out there are lines. And so I had to look at this and it just wasn't enough precision. I could look at all of these things and I just couldn't quite tell enough when a line was going to change directions. Like, okay, what angle is this? When's the crossover? Is it accelerating, decelerating? Is that a sharp angle? Is it a low angle? None of that really made sense to me. And so that was another thing that I knew that I had to kind of figure out what didn't work. Lines didn't work for me, squiggly lines. And so what I did is as I was creating the Moxie indicator, I came up with stair steps, because the stair steps were much, much easier for me to interpret. It's kind of like a no-go gauge. If you guys are any engineers out there, it's like no, it's a go or no-go gauge. You can clearly see when the Moxie indicator goes from red to green. Okay, you can't make that up. And then you can see how quickly it's accelerating because each stair step is bigger versus it's starting to turn, or a little bit of stair steps, versus big stair steps. There's so much information that's actually packed into the indicator just from a user interface standpoint that it transmits so much more information and it's just more precise. And that was really the big thing for me. So I like to keep my charts clean and simple. You can see this is pretty much all that's on my charts. The stair steps for the Moxie indicator were crucial. And then you have the positive, negative area. So if the Moxie indicator is above zero, it's positive. It's below zero, it's negative. Pretty straightforward. And then divergences. Divergences are huge. And I know you guys probably know a lot about divergences because that is a key thing that we use in stock trading in general and chart reading. But look at this. Notice how price is level. Notice how the Moxie indicator is going up while price is level. There's your positive divergence. How about this? Notice that you have a double top. Notice the negative divergence right there telling you, hey, this is probably not going to go higher because of the negative divergence. Once again, how about this? There's your level. Notice you got positive divergence. Price starts to go up. How about this one? Double top, again, negative divergence right in through there. So this is the kind of stuff. And even look at this one. This is a big one. Price really, really low. Notice how the Moxie indicator actually continues to move up as price goes down. That's one of the biggest things. This is where the heads up about the Moxie indicator kind of gives you a clue as to what's going on. Whether it's to the upside or the short side, downside, you can see prices going down and yet the Moxie indicator keeps going up. You start looking at that, number one, you better get out of your shorts. And number two, you better start rubbing your hands together because this looks like it could be a tasty trade. Look at that. There's your Moxie price trigger right there as price starts to hold the moving average and starts to go up from there. All right, and then the precision. I really pride myself on trying to be as precise as possible with these kind of trades. Sometimes the market makes it easier than others, but yeah, for the most part, I've got my rules. They are pretty precise, and we're pretty good at catching a move just before it actually happens. And so that's what I'm able to do, is see beyond price. The Moxie indicator, along with my rules, allows me to kind of see what's happening, because the way I look at it is it's momentum. It's a momentum-based tool, and so what we're looking for is when is energy or momentum coming into a stock versus out of a stock. And if you look at something like this, you can see that there's the Moxie price trigger on the way up, and there's the Moxie price trigger, at least on the top or on the way down. We pretty much caught 90% of that trend, didn't we? And that's just from using the Moxie price triggers. And so the thing about this, and this is where the heads up comes in, this is where the looking beyond price, is notice how we made a higher high. But notice how the Moxie indicator made a lower high. That's the negative divergence. Why is price going up if the indicator is going down? Well, because it's running out of gas, it's running out of momentum. And that's the ability to kind of look beyond what price is doing. Because you know what? If you don't have this indicator and you're looking right here, doesn't that actually look like a very, very strong chart? And you could actually make the case that that's probably a bull flag. And my goodness, that thing's going to keep going. It's going to go to the moon. But funny enough, that actually turned out to be the absolute end of this particular move. And this is ARKK. This is an ETF. I know all you guys know about it. This is the daily chart. The Moxie indicator precisely called the top of this entire move. And you can see we haven't even recovered since then. So really, really good stuff. It also keeps you out of trades. Maybe you're looking at right here, price trying to get back over the daily 50. Notice the Moxie indicator is below zero, telling you, that's probably not going to work. It's not gonna help you. Like, don't go long. That's gonna be a bull trap right there for you. All right. And so as I was learning the Moxie indicator, because I had to learn my own indicator, just because it's here doesn't mean you instantly know how to do it. Like, I had to learn all the tips and tricks about the Moxie indicator even myself. And one of the things that I was really good at buying dips or buying bounces and downtrends, buying the bounce in a downtrend. I was really good at it. And I had to figure out how to not do it because I kept losing money because I didn't understand time frames and I didn't really have a checklist. I could see price starting to move up and then it would roll over and I just lose money again. And so that whole pilot situation, I actually started thinking about this. Okay, I need to come up with a checklist. Because remember, trading can be a little bit complicated if we make it complicated, but I was trying to make it simple. And so this is what I did. You guys can screenshot this if you want. I think a lot of people benefit from it. It's pretty straightforward. But this was the thing that I put together, and it gave me a structure. Gave me a structure to work with. And that was the one thing that started to click with me and say, oh, I'm buying a bounce and a downtrend because really all that's happening is price is coming up into resistance and then rolling back over. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the checklist, the idea of a checklist actually had to be invented. It's an invention. And it actually, so a quick little story. Back during the beginning of World War II, when the B-17 bomber was being built and designed by Boeing, the pilots, the test pilots, very smart people, really good aviators, on one test flight, they forgot a simple little thing. It's called a gust lock. It's supposed to hold the yoke, the steering wheel in place. And they forgot to unlock it. And so they were trying to take off and they had no control, couldn't do anything, and the airplane just crashed and they killed them. And that's when the engineers at Boeing realized, wow, aircrafts are probably getting too complicated to remember all the various steps that you need to do in order to have a safe flight. So the invention of the checklist was created at that time. And that's why I then took that idea and said, okay, in order to have a safe trade or a good trade, what do we need to do? Well, we need to refer back to our checklist and make sure everything is in order so that we can actually take that trade. And so once I had that checklist built and all the data that I've been gathering from just hours of looking at the market, the pilot in me really felt at home and started to see everything I needed to see through the matrix of the stock market. And now I can lucratively make lucrative trades consistently. And Guy, he's one of the ones in our trading room. He was just saying thank you for your time, because that's the other thing. Inside of the Moxie room, I like to teach a lot. I mean, I'm on the mic every day for at least an hour, if not more. Sometimes you guys got a lot of questions, or I'm just kind of on a roll and just want to talk about a lot of stuff. So I'm always in there and teaching you guys. I don't just send out alerts and blindly tell you guys what's up. I actually like to talk about this stuff so you can kind of, teach you how to fish, basically. But if you look at Tesla, and this is a little bit older, maybe a year or two old. Look at this. There's the beginning of the Moxie price trigger. You can see the Moxie indicator is above zero. And I didn't necessarily take that trade, but the trade that I did take was in through here. I was looking for that pullback, noticed the Moxie indicator was still above zero, and I took this trade. It moved up and then pulled back, and I still stuck with it. And I normally don't try to trade over earnings. I try to avoid it. But this one, I knew that there was some special stuff kind of going on with Tesla at the time. The Moxie indicator was looking pretty strong, told me to stay long on this. And so I stayed into this one, and then we finally got a nice pop on earnings, and then we pulled back, and I believe I added to it at that point too. And at the time, I was trading TSLL, which again is the leverage ETF of Tesla, and this thing absolutely went bonkers. And so we made 240% on the leverage ETF of Tesla, all the way from this move all the way to about the top. And that's the other thing. I have rules that tell me, like, when you don't want to be overstaying your welcome on the long side. And so we made 240%. That's just stock. So great trades. And if you guys are be trading options, same situation. I tell you when to get in. The chart tells you when to get in. My rules tell you how to trade this stuff. You just choose options instead of stock. And so you can see that now, even though I got out of the top up there, look where the Moxie indicator fired on the downside. And that told you this was definitely the end of the move, because if you're looking at this, you'd normally look at this and say, hey, this could actually be quite strong. This looks like it should be bull flagging into the daily 50. I'm going to buy it at the daily 50 and it's going to go up. Well, you're going to be rudely surprised when it suddenly turns the other direction, goes down. And wouldn't it have been nice if the Moxie indicator, if it was on your charts and told you, nope, don't go long. That's actually going to go down. And if you guys remember, that was definitely the end of the move. And it didn't see those highs for quite some time after that. All right, showing you a little bit more about how the Moxie indicator helps prevent bad trades, helps keep you safe is kind of how I talk about it. When the Moxie indicator is below zero, you really better think twice about a long trade. What I call it is a inverse trampoline move. Again, don't worry about the name. It's just one of those funny things I talk about. But the Moxie indicator helps prevent you from getting sucked into some of these sucker trades. And you can see here's MAGS. This is the MAG 7 index, and you can see it right there. There's the Moxie price trigger to the downside, and you can see big move to the downside. And once again, there's the Moxie price trigger to the downside. And even though price went up a little bit, it was telling you that's a false long. That's going to be a fake out. And sure enough, you can see here the index started to come down and through here, and well, the rest is history. And we're living at MAGS right here at 60, so right there. So it's been a long time coming that the Moxie indicator told you quite a long time ahead that this thing wasn't going to be working out to the long side, and don't trust them. Okay, so imagine if you had this kind of future insight on your charts and you could trade like this, let alone just being able to avoid the bad trades. Like I made a comment today in the Moxie room, it was like the 80-20. 80% of our income is from 20% of our trades. What if you could just imagine if you could just keep removing some of your bad trades? Wouldn't you be that much further ahead? I know I would be. And so here are some other ones. RCAT, ONDS, these are some of the drone stocks. I like trading these. They're kind of exciting. I like radio controlled stuff anyway, so I have an affinity for this stuff. But once again, there's your Moxie price trigger. And even though this had two really big dips, and maybe you wouldn't ride them out, you might get stopped out. That's fair, because you never quite know where they're going to go. But what it would tell you is that even though you had a big dip, probably don't short it. And number two, don't abandon this. This actually might end up being a good trade because the Moxie indicator is bullish. It's trying to tell you that these are probably going to be buyable dips. And so you look for that and you look for the confirmation that they're going to go up. And finally, once you had that big move, boom, there it goes. And how about on the other side? Once again, Moxie price trigger right up at the top, telling you exactly when price was going to start rolling over, and it was going to be the end of the move. And as I show you guys this on ONDS, obviously the Moxie price trigger on the way up, but here's the bigger thing. As I was learning how to trade and just trying anything to figure out how things worked as I was learning when I was younger, I had a really hard time of knowing the difference between buying the dip and when a dip was actually the end of a move and it was going to roll over and start coming down. And I think you look at something like this with ONDS, and same thing. You think this is going to be a pretty strong stock or anything, and you look at this as a dip right there, and you think, okay, we're coming back above the moving average. Let's go. I just did a great job buying the dip, and let's go. And only to be rudely surprised that price actually rolls back over, and that is definitely the end of the move. And hopefully you don't keep buying the dip in that situation. But the Moxie indicator was there, telling you, no. This is not a buy the dip situation. Things have actually changed. This is actually going to start rolling over, and you either want to be out of your long or you want to start shorting it. You want to start shorting the rips. And that's the benefit of the Moxie indicator, is really the backbone of your trade, because it tells you what momentum is doing, and it tells you if you're still good to go to the long side, or if the thing has actually changed and you need to be careful as things might start coming down. And so that's really just everything I was talking about the Moxie indicator. I have a few other things that end the course on March 7th about the elf shoe patterns. Again, if you guys see up here over my shoulders, I got some elf shoes that always kind of remind me that's my money maker. The elf shoes. It's a key bullish setup for me. And then I got the 50-250 maneuver, which kind of helps keep you out of the first bad trade. The bounce. You can think about a double bottom. That's just the bounce. This actually helps you get the right trade. And then the moat concept. Again, this helps you not be surprised when the first price movement doesn't work. It's actually about the second one. And that's the structure that I help wrap around this so that you guys have a better visual. Between these three patterns, this is how you start to see through the matrix and actually see the stock market for the way that I do. And you can actually get these better, more lucrative, consistent entries. Now, I always like to reference Lulu. He's one of the ones in the Moxie room. He was relatively new a while ago, but I just love his energy. He's, oh my gosh, TG, this is this. I love this trampoline setup so much. It's so promising for a reader, and one can relax knowing it's going in the direction for a while, so one can handle the pullbacks along the way. Again, knowing the difference between a pullback and an uptrend or the end of a trend. And yes, this is starting to sink in for me at the moment. I get it now. More to learn, but I get it. That's the whole point. He can now see through the matrix and actually see what these things are doing. That's the kind of structure that I can give you guys to understand what to do with this market, and all of those squiggly lines and all the chaos. I can help you see through that. All right, so we'll touch on some of the leverage ETF stuff. That's kind of the big deal because nobody really talks about it. Nobody really talks about this stuff. I even remember asking people when I started to discover it. I'd ask them, professional traders around me, people I knew, people in the industry. I'd be like, "Hey, am I seeing this? Is this a thing?" Nobody saw it. So I think I'm the only one who really kind of talks about this. But it's the real thing that allowed me to turn the $46,000 into $719,000 in 30 days. That was the main reason. That's why I've dumped 90% of my options account into that particular trade at the bottom of the tariff tantrums. And yeah, so I think there's a secret clue that only these leverage ETFs show. And that was the reason I was put 90% into SOXL right at the bottom. And so here are some more examples of what's going on with the leverage ETFs. Now I know gold and silver kept kind of going up, but when gold, what was it, a month or two ago, probably 2 months ago, when silver, gold, GDX were absolutely on a tear to the upside, everyone's like, oh my gosh, how long is this thing going to last? Where is the roller coaster going to end? Well, I had that answer, and I was able to communicate that to the Moxie subscribers, Moxie traders. You can see here on the 28th, and I said, well, I think we're seeing a double top, and I think we're seeing some other stuff. And based on my studying of the leverage ETFs, I was able to see those clues that said, hey, actually, I think this is the local top. And I communicated that. And yeah, that was the thing that actually pinpointed the top. And I'm still kind of wondering if gold and precious metals are going to take a breather. I'm just going to put it out there. I haven't taken a trade yet, but I think that they might start maybe changing course. We'll see if that happens. It's still a little bit early. But then also, the leverage ETF situation was another way that I was able to see things before anybody else saw. The home builders, Nail, XHB, you can see here XHB on the right. This is the weekly chart. I started building, no pun intended, but I started building a position in through here on the weekly chart. And you can see we had a nice big move up here. I did cash in 140% gain on that. I did add a little bit too early on this last one, but I think we're actually about to start seeing this go up. We're right there. I really think this market might be changing, and I think the home builders is going to be one of those clues that we can actually look to see if this is going to be going. But yeah, if you guys remember, Trump came out and said no BlackRock, no corporations in these single-family housing markets. And initially, everyone think, oh my gosh, you're going to remove a giant buyer of the housing market? Oh, that's going to be bad. And sure enough, the housing stocks went straight down for a day. And then the day after that, they skyrocketed right back up. And we were already in. In fact, we had already made 3 different entries on that particular setup and nailed it. And that's when the market really started taking off. Yeah, Adrian. Yeah. As I said, I think we're pretty close to the market turning around for the home builders. This is something that if you guys are in the Moxie room or watch my webinars, I'll be probably talking about this pretty soon. I think we're close. So we'll see about that. All right, here was another example. Back when all of the AI crazy stuff was happening and everybody was doing all the circular financial buying and all that kind of stuff, NVIDIA was putting money into AMD, AMD was putting into, I don't know, Apple, or maybe not Apple, but Amazon, whatever that whole situation was. Well, there were some clues, same kind of thing that I had proven that was starting to show their repeatability. And I was communicating it pretty big into the Moxie room. Had several people take the trade. They were pretty happy about that. But ultimately, I saw this thing coming so far ahead that I loaded up on this and I took not only AMDL, I took options on AMD. You can see I took a variety of options because I was like, what is this thing even going to do? And you can just see the results. I mean, obviously we got a few 100%, but 870, 753. Yeah. And it was all because the leverage ETF told me that something was going to be happening in this thing, and I capitalized on it. And surf fishing, I always kind of love this comment. I've never had 8 leveraged stocks in my account before joining this room. Glad to say I did, making up for some early mistakes in the year. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, now let's kind of touch on 0DT. Now, as far as my experience, remember, I'm here at Simpler Trading. It used to be called Simpler Options. The Kool-Aid is all about options over here, but I came in as a stock trader, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. This is the options grid, options table. It makes no sense to me. I look for something. How am I supposed to trade options based off these numbers? It just doesn't work for me. And I'm telling you, this is another thing that nobody ever talked about because I have been in this business for a few decades at this point, a couple decades, and nobody ever told me about the way to see options the way I'm going to show you. And it wasn't until that it just totally opened my eyes because I looked at this like this is super intimidating. I don't know what to do with this. I mean, do you guys know what to do with this? I'm sure we got some good options traders, but like this just doesn't resonate with me. And so I figured, do I even need to use this? Do I really need to figure this thing out? Like there's got to be an easier way. And that's when I figure out the 0DT thing that I'm going to show you. And I thought, well, what if there's an easier way? Now, this person just the other day was commenting on one of my YouTube channels, and so I thought it was pretty nice. But the person was saying, I have to say, initially, I scoffed at the presentation like, aha, that I've been trading 0DT SPX for a long time. Then, like you said, light bulb moment for me as well on the option visualization. Well done, sir. You definitely get a like for me, so appreciate it. Yeah, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, right, guys? Okay, so the way that I like to trade 0DT, and even same thing with regular swing options and stuff like that. I don't use Greeks. I don't do any fancy option configurations, just simple charting and tools, the Moxie Indicator, a couple moving averages, stuff like that. Never Chase, he's been in the Moxie room for quite a while. Back in the room today, he was last year, January 2021. I've been using the Moxie Indicator for day trading the past 2 years. It's awesome. So yeah, not just me. Moxie Indicator does work for day trading. I know I get a lot of people ask me that question, and it absolutely does. Okay, so here it is. Have you ever thought to visualize the option, the 0DT option? Again, I'm sure some of you know this. I didn't know this, and that's why we're here talking about it, trying to show you guys this. You can actually take the option series and whatever strike you're looking at, you can turn it into a chart. Mind blown, eyes opened. And so this is what I looked at. And once I started to see this and I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is exactly like trading stock with my principles, with the Moxie Indicator, exactly the way that I teach. And I'm like, this just is very, very awesome. I was like, this is great. We got the Moxie price trigger, we got the moving averages, we got all the things that I'm looking for in a normal stock chart, and now I can apply it to options. Great. Now I feel really right at home, and now I know what to do with this. And suddenly it was a revolutionary idea that allowed me to use the Moxie Indicator and everything else I knew, apply it to day trading and apply it to options. And now I know what to do with this thing, and now I can actually trade this stuff. So it was an eye-opener. So this is the kind of stuff that I want to show you. If you guys are interested in this class, it's going to be part of the package. I spent this weekend 2 hours recording that class. So maybe it sounds like a lot, but really you're going to get your money's worth. I give you 2 hours of how to actually do this kind of stuff. I'll show you just a ton of examples. That's really what it is. It's just example after example after example. Okay, and then yeah, also from YouTube, this is hands down one of the best videos on SPX 0DT. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad you guys are enjoying it. All right, so kind of wrapping up and through here, the package that we're talking about as far as the class and everything that's coming up this weekend is really the holistic approach that I take to the market. We've got the Moxie Indicator, we've got the leverage ETFs, and we got the 0DT. That is everything that I really do wrapped up into how I tackle this market. The leverage ETFs help me with swing trading. The Moxie Indicator helps me with everything, and 0DT for when the market is choppy or you want to just day trade because, you know, swing trading is garbage or something like that. Or if you guys just love swing or 0DT or day trading, this helps you. This is the way you can kind of navigate the market for whatever conditions might present yourself. And yeah, there's the actual picture of the Elf Shoe. So thanks, Emil. He was the one of the subscribers that sent this to me. I'm amazed he was actually able to find like a really good and actually nice elf shoe. So I think about those all the time because that's the real moneymaker for some of the stuff I do. And so with this holistic approach, as far as the Moxie indicator and everything that I teach, it's kind of like, well, why reinvent the wheel? Again, you got to think about the engineering side. If I can get a shortcut, wouldn't I want to take that? Okay. So you can take that shortcut, which is basically taking all of the years that I've spent studying this, looking at this, the hours I've put into this, the knowledge that I have about the leverage ETFs, the knowledge I now have with the zero DT stuff, all that kind of stuff, and the write-ups and the checklists and everything I have to put together for the Moxie indicator and the Moxie principle. Put all that into a package, take the class, and just like the Matrix, we can download that into your brain. And now all the years that I've put together, it's right here in a nice package. And we're going to be teaching it this weekend. We're also going to be having some live classes so that anybody who takes that class, if you have any questions, like, okay, I get the concept, I get the theory. Now let's actually put it to use in this market. We're going to have some live trading days for you so you can actually hit the ground running on this kind of stuff. Another person from YouTube, thank you, TG. Your trading knowledge is priceless, and it has allowed me to really figure out who I am as a trader. You're an important piece of my trading success. I love hearing things like that. Also because I'm not going to be the most perfect person for you. I know that when I was learning how to trade, remember, we're not born a trader. And so we had to figure out what works for us. There are certainly a lot of different components of trading that I have grabbed from other traders and I've put it together in a package that works for me. And you guys might have certain things that you like from other people. Great. If you like what I have, take that, apply it, and now make your own trading system because this is how we do it. Okay. Everybody's brain is a little bit different. Take little bits and pieces of people that work for you, put it together, and make your own trading success and figure out who you are as a trader. So this is what we're going to be doing. We got the ETF profit formula class coming up March 7th. This is the biggest way of how I was able to make that 420% in 6 months during the tariff tantrum lows. And as we turned around, ooh, I got to turn that volume down. And so, yeah, we just posted the link in there. You can also see here, we've got the link to simplertrading.com/ETF-formula. Let me just kind of go through the spiel. I'll be happy to answer some questions. I know we've had quite a few. I want to make sure that I address all of your questions, all of your concerns, and then also on Friday, this Friday, we're going to have a Q&A session right after the market. So again, if you guys have any kind of questions or, want to, last minute thing like, okay, do I really want to sign up for this? And you just want to know something? Absolutely. That's what I'm here for, answering that stuff for you. So here's what the package actually looks like. The basic package. And just to make sure, if anybody watching this presentation already has the Moxie indicator, you don't have to spend all the money. We're not going to make you buy things twice that you already have. So talk to customer support. They'll make sure that you don't overpay because you already have the Moxie indicator. So just understand that. Work with them, and they'll work with you. So the basic package of what you're going to be getting here is the ETF profit formula class. That's the big thing, as I said. It tells me pinpoint of where the market's going to be turning and when stuff starts happening. And nobody believed me, but it's here. It's the thing now. And then the bonus. So everybody's going to be getting the bonus 0 DTE SPX options class. And even if you don't trade 0 DTE or day trade, understanding how options move in this particular way was the number one thing that allowed me to make that 2,060% trade on SOXL at the bottom of the tariff tantrums. Because if you only look at the options grid and you just see that the stock is going up, but your option keeps like hanging around or even going negative, being able to visualize it and understand how options work and how they decay or how they appreciate allowed me to understand how to hang on to that thing. So I always tell people that understanding 0 DT in this way allowed me to become a better options swing trader. It really did. And then, yeah, you'll get the Moxie indicator plus the scanner. You'll get the Moxie stock watch list. It's kind of a fun tool that I have out there. And then the Moxie stock scans, of course, and the indicator installation session. So that's going to be handled from our tech team and make sure that you can actually get in there. We're actually done some really good work over the years on the Moxie indicator and its package to make it easier to install. And now it's way more user friendly and it actually changes timeframes with you. So it's great. We've really massaged that thing nicely. Now, the only thing you don't get here is the live trading. And I understand, this might be good enough for a lot of you out there. But I personally, I like the live trading because anytime that I've ever studied in school or I've taken classes like this, the trading, the lessons, the videos, the recordings, they can always kind of be a little bit polished and kind of perfect, and maybe they cherry pick some examples and, oh yeah, it's super easy, just do this. And then you actually try to apply it and you're like, okay, I now have a bunch of questions. I get it and I studied, but now I try to put into principle and now I got questions and now I don't know, and maybe this is a weird market. Now it doesn't seem to work the same. Well, that's why I really like being able to teach you guys the live trading days. So you don't have to have the Moxie trading room. This is just for the class. Once you've learned everything that I teach you on Saturday, we're going to let you kind of rest, maybe watch it a couple times, really digest it. And then later in the month, you're going to have 2 days of live trading to where we can actually deep dive into this, answer your questions. I'm going to be on the mic, I'll be on camera, you guys will be in here, and just ask me anything. Let's take your examples. Let's figure out the worst trade that you had. Let's figure out what your struggles are. Let's go actually figure it out. And that's what the 2 days of live trading is to really kind of help you guys out. And then if you guys are feeling extra spicy, really get some bang for your buck. This is really where you do get bang for your buck, because you guys know buying in bulk always works better. I mean, how many of us have a membership to Costco? Yeah, I thought so. So you buy in bulk, you get 4 days of live trading. And in this kind of market, when hopefully seasonality is starting to look pretty good coming out of March, if this market can't get lower, hopefully it'll start going higher, and we might actually be in timing for a bullish market towards the end of March. And that is exactly when these 4 days of live trading are. And so hopefully we can give you some great trades out there. Can't make any promises, legal purposes and all that kind of stuff, but should be a fun time. And I'm always looking for good trades and happy to throw some out there. So yeah, if things start working, I know how to capitalize on them. All right. So just a little bit more out here, letting you guys know again about the zero DT. This is going to be how I trade the same day expiration options with precision. And again, the zero DT stuff really actually helped me become a better swing trader with options in general. It really, I know it seems weird, but it actually does work. And then remember the basic package. It's going to be the ETF formula class plus the bonus plus the Moxie Indicator. And then so you guys know, the class, it's going to be March 7th. It's coming up this Saturday, March 7th, 11 to 3 CT, so Central. And then we'll kind of look at this. I see some questions about what platforms this works on, so this will actually answer your question. The Moxie Indicator is available on Thinkorswim, TradingView, and StockCharts.com. So yeah, I like Thinkorswim the most. I know we've got some international people to where that doesn't work, and so that's where when you get the web-based or the browser-based, that's where you can get TradingView or Stock Charts. So yeah, it was a pretty big deal to make sure we got this on something other than Thinkorswim, simply for people who like having it web-based and international traders. And then yeah, there you go. This is where I'm at right now. I'm looking at you guys right through the camera right there, standing at my standing desk. I got all my pictures over here with the airplanes and whatnot. And so when I'm teaching you guys on Saturday, I'll be right here. Got my little cup of tea or something, green tea, matcha over here. You guys get your coffee, some snacks, and we'll have a great Saturday morning as we go through this and kind of figure out how to teach the market. All right, so as we go through that, remember, if you guys need a little bit of help, PayPal, they actually do a pretty cool thing, 0% interest for 6 months. And, I know a lot of people who actually take this. My dad, anytime we would go buy something, and if they offered 0% interest for whatever months, he could totally pay cash. But he took this offer because he's like, great, I can go make more money elsewhere while I pay this off, and then I'll go pay it in 6 months. So, yeah, I think people sometimes they look at this and just say that as a good offer. So 0% interest for 6 months. And then remember, Thinkorswim, TradingView, Stock Charts. If you guys need any help, we've got everybody in the chat room here helping you with customer support. And then as we kind of wrap up here, let me look around at some of the questions and see how you guys are doing. And if you need anything, remember, come over to tech support, support@simplertrading.com. There's the phone number. We got people in the chat room answering any kind of questions. And let me see, oh yeah, okay. So one question, why did you name it Moxie? There is actually a story behind that. As I was coming up with this and I had the indicator, And I was realizing, okay, I'm gonna need to come up with this because if I'm gonna teach it and whatever, if I'm gonna patent it or trademark it, I was like, okay, what is this thing? Well, it was the indicator would tell me when the market was going to move or stock was going to move, and I was like very energetic, and I was like velocity. Okay, we need movement. I need something that says excitement about the market, and I really wanted to go with velocity trader early, but that was already taken. So I had to find a name that number one was available to trademark, number two that I could say multiple times a day for pretty much the rest of my life because I had to figure that was going to happen. You think about it, famous musicians. Yeah. How many times do you're a one-hit wonder or you create some songs and you now have to sing that song every single time that you go play a concert for the rest of your life? You better love that song. And so I knew the Moxie Indicator or whatever name I came up with it, I was going to have to say it over and over and over. So it had to be a good name that I liked. And it had to express what it was trying to do. Again, think energy, velocity, excitement, gumption. And so I started looking through the thesaurus and coming up with some stuff, and it just nothing was quite landing. And then finally, I came across Moxie, or somebody mentioned Moxie, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I do like that because we want a stock that has a lot of Moxie to it. I want something that's just bucking the trend and really going up there, got some Moxie to it. And I'm like, yeah, and it has a good ring to it. So that's the story of how the Moxie Indicator got its name. Oh, Brenda, yeah, that's your first time hearing it. And Mirza, now you're up to speed too. All right. And yes, AJ, yeah, I am live every day. So I actually have my own trading room called the Moxie Room. And yes, I'm in there. I'm in the chat room all day anyway, but I'm live on the mic every day at least 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours because I'm in other rooms as well. Amit, in the 4 days of live trading, we'll be trading SPX 0TT as well. If the market gives us something, absolutely. We will certainly be looking at it. I will be running through that. So anything that I teach, anything that you get in this course, the leverage ETF, Moxie, 0DT, as part of the live trading, we will discuss it, especially if you have questions. If anybody wants to drill down on anything particular, we will absolutely go into that. So yes. And then, yeah, okay. I think you guys are answering some of these questions. And then Keith, oh yeah, good to see you, Keith. Let's see, any plans to have the future, the scanner and trading view? I think that's more of a trading view issue. The Moxie indicator is kind of special. Like if you guys have, oh, I forget the other TradeStation. Like TradeStation, it doesn't work on TradeStation because I don't know, some engineer came back and said, oh, it's got a fatal flaw. And I was like, ooh, that sounds bad. But no, the Moxie indicator is designed in such a way, and this is what makes it kind of unique and powerful and special, is that it just doesn't work on certain platforms. And same thing with the scanner. And so, I don't know, it's kind of up to TradingView if they can ever design certain things so we can actually use it. All right. Okay, I think we're good on the Slack channel. Let's see what's going on. Jeff, sounds like you need some hand holding. Well, that's where number one, if you do the live day trading or live trading, that's where you can get some hand holding. We're going to be there for you, walking it through. But if you want something that's more consistent, like you said, if you want some hand holding, may I recommend that you actually come into the Moxie trading room. That's where I think that you'll get the most bang for your buck as far as I need to see how this thing works every single day. Because that one, that again, I'm on the mic once, if not twice a day for an hour or two. I'm putting out alerts, I'm putting out education. And again, you can come into the trading room with me in there, and every single day you can just pester me with questions and figure out how this stuff works. So I think the Moxie room would be really, really good for you. That's what it sounds like, Jeff. And then do we own the Moxie indicator 1 year or for life? You own it for life. So yeah, just you own it for life. It's a one-time purchase. And then John, yes, if you already have the indicator, there is a special price for you. Again, we want to make sure that you guys just don't overpay for something you already have. I don't know what the price is. Just reach out to customer support. And then Alex, let's see, Moxie, what trading style does it fit best? You're asking if it's scalping, day trading, longer term swing. Honestly, all of it. I know that sounds like I'm just trying to sell something, but honestly, it works for longer term investing, it works for swing trading, and it works for day trading. As you can see with some of the posts that I've put up there, we've got testimonials of people using it for day trading. I use it for day trading. I've come up with a whole class about zero DT. It really kind of covers the gamut. And the reason is because it's a momentum based tool. And along with some of the rules that I have, I kind of call it fractal. You know, the same principles that I use to day trade, I use to swing trade. So it's all kind of the same thing because the market still kind of does the same thing, whether it's a daily chart or a 2 minute chart. They move the same way, just in different time frames. Then Will, what time frame for zero DT trades? I have well, let me first start. Anytime you day trade, I think you always need to know context. So you always start from the higher time frames like the daily and hourly, just so you even give yourself context to know where you are. And then once you're going to start actually day trading for that particular day, then I like to look at the 15, the 5, and the 2 minute. You can also maybe use the 1 minute, but I like to slow it down just a little bit, so I use the 2 minute. And Jack, yes, you can absolutely use the indicator on a 5 minute chart. Yeah. Woodstock on slide 6, where did I get the short interest on XLK? That was posted on X from a pretty sure a legitimate source. You can tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that the other uh, short interest or put flow that I showed you as far as the SPX pretty much aligned with that. I think even Danielle reposted that thing too a few weeks ago on her X page. So it was out there. I guess that means I can't exactly confirm if it's real, but it was out there on X. And then golf, yeah, I absolutely give alerts in the Moxie room. In fact, today we took 3 trades. So I put out three swing trades today in the Moxie room. We'll see if they keep working. Hopefully this market's perking up a little bit. And then, yes, everything is recorded. We're going to do it live, but everything's recorded. And you guys get to own the recordings. So again, once you purchase it, you own it. Cyan, let's see, are the 4 live trading days per week? No, if you're gonna be doing 4 live trading days, we've spread those 4 days out over 2 weeks. I think it was 2 days a week and then 2 days a week. And we do that so that you have time to kind of digest. You know, if we did 4 days in a row, I think it'd probably be a little too much. We want to make sure that you guys see different market environments and kind of spread it out a little bit. And I just think that works better for people to actually digest this stuff. You know, like let's have a pretty intense class for an hour or two, and then you can kind of look back and digest it, sleep on it, and then we'll have another class in a day or two. So it's 2 per week, and then we go to 2 per week on another one. Amit, does the Moxie indicator and scan work successfully on Thinkorswim? Absolutely. That's the OG. That is the original place that the Moxie indicator was designed and developed. And so yes, all the tools work on Thinkorswim. Don, yeah, actually, I know I've got some more here. Do you actually want to see, does the Moxie indicator work on non-financial futures like soybeans? Can you guys remind me what's the ticker for soybean futures? If you guys want to see that, ZS? Okay. Yeah, let's pull this up. /ZS. Now, also one thing to note just about futures, when I use my moving averages are for regular trading hours. And so a lot of times, if you look at anything underneath a daily time frame, because there are more hours in a futures contract, you do have to kind of change the moving averages because your 50 SMA will not behave the same on an hourly future versus a regular trading hours future because there are more hours in the day. Anything a day and above are totally normal. So let me kind of reference this and see. And just also remember futures, because they have more hours in the day, there's a little bit more noise. So I'm just going to put that caveat. But yes, for the most part, it does work. Let me show you this. This is one of my patterns right here. This is what I call a 50, 250 maneuver. So 50, 250 maneuver right there, buried right into this futures that you see. And then how about this? Notice that price is below the 50. Moxie indicator is above zero. Boom. There's your move. Now, again, remember, you're not trying to look at every single trade or every single opportunity on these things. You're looking for when you have the leg up. And you can see right there that that was telling you that likely something was going to start pressing to the upside. Let's see if there's anything I can kind of find on the hourly chart. Oh, here you go. How about this? So notice, price higher, Moxie indicator lower. There's your Moxie price trigger to the downside. And then there is your confirmation to the downside with the Moxie indicator below zero. So let's see, who was asking that? The futures, soybean futures. Yeah, Don. So there you go. There's the top of that particular move using the hourly chart. And let's see. Again, a little bit noisy because of futures, but there's your double bottom. There's your positive divergence, and there's your Moxie price trigger. And Don, just again, not to get into the weeds, this was what I call the proper entry. Look how the Moxie indicator fired right as it was crossing over the moving average versus that. That was actually a delayed firing. That was a little bit late. This is the kind of stuff that I teach in the class to show you the differences between that. But you can see I was able to quickly point that out. And really, there's your double bottom, there's your Moxie price trigger, and there's your positive divergence. All right, so let's kind of go back to this, see if you guys have any more questions, and we'll kind of wrap up in through here. Jeff, so with your scanner, can you find stocks that pay dividends and also do options on them? The scanner doesn't necessarily scan for that. You can use other tools to figure that out. The Moxie indicator scanner is scanning for when you have a buyable dip or you have a price trigger, meaning price or something is about to move. You're scanning using the indicator. If you want to find a stock that pays dividends or options, that's a different scanner. That's just a standard scanner about how to, quantify what kind of stock you want. KSU cat fan, nice. If the indicator shows a downtrend, do you trade puts? Yes, absolutely. And then Bob, let's see, so you get all your trades from the Moxie scanner? Not necessarily. The Moxie scanner is if you want to scan and find new tickers and find something that is ripe right now or starting to set up. For me, I've got a few hundred names on my watch list. I like to kind of trade the tried and true. We look at the standard Robinhood or the semiconductors or just whatever. And I like to trade the popular stuff. And so I don't always need the scanner because I already have a huge watch list that I actually look through every day. And so I've just kind of built the names that I want, and I don't necessarily need to go trade something obscure. But if you want to scan, the Moxie indicator will bring trades to you. That's the whole point of it. So I think that kind of comes down to your style of trading. Are you constantly looking for trades, or do you like to just look through your watch list and see what's setting up? Amit, what's the ticker again for the 6J? And the other thing I'll say before we get into that, because if I remember, that's currency, right? The 6J. If that's currency, just remember, just the same thing with stock. There are certain stocks that work better with the Moxie indicator because it's a momentum-based tool. And so if there are certain stocks that are just super messy and super choppy and they don't make any sense. And I'll look at it and be like, oof, I don't want to trade that. Moxie can't even work with it. It's not even behaving with the moving averages. And there are certain financial products or currencies that are also very choppy, and I just can't trade them. And so, maybe the Moxie indicator won't be helpful. So let me see if I can just even look at this. Is it the /6J? Okay, well, look here. There's your double bottom. There's your positive divergence. There's your Moxie price trigger. There's your move up. How about this? There's your double top. There's your negative divergence. There's your Moxie price trigger to the way down. And Amit, here you go. This is the real key. You see how right here, maybe you would have thought, oh, hey, this is finding support. It's going to go up. Notice how the Moxie indicator is very far below zero. That was telling you that was going to be a fake move to the upside. Like, don't trust that. That's a bounce and a downtrend. So that's where even when I was telling you in the presentation, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you removed some of your bad trades? Well, that's what it is. Or even look at this, price coming down, Moxie indicator going up, boom, there's your Moxie price trigger. Like that's a good example right there, actually. So yeah, no, it works. Is that a trap move down? Where are we looking at? Are we looking here? Are you talking about this current one, Adrian? So like right there. This also is one of the things that I like to teach you guys. So look here, notice how price is down, notice how the Moxie indicator is up. Yes, there was a move, but the thing I'll point out, this is not quite set up. This is stuff, some of the things that I'm trying to show you guys that this can persist for a while. But the Moxie indicator is above zero. This might actually be a bottoming pattern. And in bottoming patterns, you have to be okay with these things kind of bouncing around for a while until they actually catch. Let's see, is it a trap move down? Are you talking about this one? I would call that a bear or a bull trap because it looked like price wanted to go higher, but the Moxie indicator was really telling you you better not go long. Yeah. I mean that's the whole thing. The Moxie indicator was not set up. It just was, I mean, look, it's just below zero. That's not a trade. You need the Moxie indicator above zero in order to go long. And once again, if you look at the where these setups were, look, you need the Moxie price trigger to fire. And you can see in this particular move, notice how the Moxie indicator did not fire. It was nowhere near going positive. So yeah, there you go, guys. Bob, how many alerts do I put out in a week? It really just depends. You know, the market's been kind of crazy, so I've been kind of slow. But I did put out 3 trades today, and it just depends on the market. I get that question a lot, and I think the only honest way to answer it is it really kind of depends on what the market's providing for us. All right, let's see. Yeah, I'm scrolling down here, just making sure I catch up to all this stuff. Let's see, what's more important, green Moxie arrows or on the hourly or daily? Steve, I think that again depends on what you're trying to set up. I prefer the hourly because it will get me into a trade sooner, but I need the daily to also be setting up as well. Um, Yeah, so if you are, again, it depends on what kind of trader you are. If you're looking at a weekly and daily chart, then you're going to want a daily arrow. If you're any kind of trader and you're like, I want to find the soonest place to get in, well, you're going to be looking at the daily and hourly, and you can use the hourly to get you in, but you want to see the daily also confirm. So I kind of say both because I think it depends on what you're looking for. I will go all the way down to the 15-minute time frame to find the exact moment that price actually starts to go up. And then, but of course, I need the hourly and the daily to align with it also. Yeah, let's do, yeah, Steve. Okay, I'll show you another one. Then we'll. So what I can show you here with Irene is notice there's the Moxie price trigger on the way up. There's the one on the way down, which you might be looking at that and say, hey, that's kind of late. Well, there it is on the way down for the hourly chart. This is why I like to balance or use both the daily and the hourly, because remember, the hourly chart is going to give me a sharper entry or exit. It'll tell me sooner when something's not going to work or actually work. Now, who was asking me about, I think it was Amit, you were asking me about the currency. Notice here, you see how Irene jumped up like that? That looks just like that yen. And you see how the Moxie indicator was below zero? That was telling you this was a false move, a fake out move. Yes, there was a move, and you can catch that. But the Moxie indicator on the daily chart was telling you that that was probably not going to really last. And so if you're going to trade it long, you need to be kind of quick with it and don't expect this to really carry because you did not actually get a proper long signal. Notice the Moxie indicator never actually crossed on the daily chart, and look what happened. It came right back down. Now, the signal was on the hourly. So again, it depends on what kind of trader you are. If you're looking for just a quick trade, you can absolutely take it. That was 100% a trade signal on the hourly chart, run it up like that. But you should understand the context that the daily chart's telling you, this may not work. This may not work. Okay, thanks, Renda. Brenda, should I keep going? I mean, how are you guys doing? I know we got a lot of other people here who are running the webinar. I don't want to be taking everybody's time of just, running through stuff. So let me know if I should keep going for a little bit. Let's see, Jerry, gold, silver. Let's see if there's anything to really comment on with silver. Um, Silver, it's been a lot. Honestly, it's been a lot. And right now there's not too much to comment on because it's mostly sideways. What I can tell you here is there's your Moxie price trigger there, and there's your Moxie price trigger there, as far as this thing going. This one, I know that one probably showed up a little bit late, but I mean, my goodness, look at silver. It just dropped like, yeah, dropped huge. So, silver, how about this? I guess what I can say best about silver is, and this is where the old me or the novice me would get chopped out or panic out of something like this, or especially right here. You see how price went lower? Notice how the Moxie indicator stayed above zero. That's the kind of thing that if you're looking for a trend, that would actually tell you like, oh, okay, so even though price is breaking the moving average, the Moxie indicator staying above zero, that's actually a viable dip. And that would help keep you on to the trend. I think that would probably be the best use of something I could show you for that one. Amit, yeah, so if you're using currency futures like that, overnight swings, daily may not be the best anchor for that chart. So sure, apply the same principles using the hourly. Remember, anything below a daily, you're going to want to use different moving averages because the time frames are different, because there are more hours in the day. And if you really want to find a cutting edge, then you can maybe go down to a 30 minute, maybe even a 15 minute. Ken, what do I use the slow stochastic for? Really, for the slow stochastic, I don't use it too much. It is kind of a reference point there. I more keep it on my charts for habit, but what it does do really well is it helps pinpoint lows. It helps pinpoint bottoms. I don't use it on the way up, not at all. It doesn't tell tops or anything, but it does do a good job of telling you when a bottom is in. So that's what I use a slow stochastic for. I mean, you can even see like right there. You can see even on the hourly chart, there's a double bottom on the slow stochastic versus a lower low, and that was the bottom right there. And even here, there was the low. Amit, can the Moxie really work on the 5 minute to 3 minute charts, or does it just lose what it's meant to be designed for? No, it absolutely works. Now, again, futures are a little bit more noisy, but it's still there. Really, what I like, I mean, if you use the regular trading hours, the Moxie works great on the 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute. It works great. It's all the same stuff that I teach for swing trading. You just apply it to a smaller time frame. Oh, John, yeah, Netflix. So we caught Netflix. We made 100% on this move. So here was kind of the clues to be working up with right here. Now I know you're kind of looking at this, you're like, wow, that was really firing a lot. That's actually kind of your clue. Because for as much as price was still going down, notice that the Moxie indicator was actually starting to try and go positive. And I know that maybe there was some confusion in through here. I was actually able to pinpoint that double bottom right there and then right there. So I actually managed to get in at 77.5. And then when the news came out and this thing popped, I sent the alert out to the trading room and we just jumped on some options. And I actually didn't think this was going to run quite as much as it did. So I only made 103%. I bought May calls. Like should have just bought like 3 week calls. That would have been great. And you can even see here, look at this on the daily chart. See how price went down? Notice you started getting some divergence. Look at the difference. You see how this kept going lower? But notice, and this was where we were starting to see some clues. Even though price kept going lower, notice that the Moxie indicator, like clearly, was starting to go up. That was the clue that maybe you should start getting out of your shorts, or maybe the bears were starting to overstay their welcome. And then if you guys really want to see the clue, remember, if you guys were here at the beginning of the presentation, I showed you those bearish setups on mags, on SPX, all that kind of stuff right here. This was telling you that there was probably going to be a big down move in Netflix because not only did you get your Moxie price trigger here, you had price up here and look at the indicator down, 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 down. It was telling you don't be long. Even though price kept trying to pop over that 50, Moxie indicator was so far below zero, it was telling you absolutely don't be long. All right, let me keep kind of scrolling down, making sure I answer all your questions. Richard, this seems like something you have to have time to watch, correct? Watch. Let's see. Or is this something that daily or weekly trade available for someone who is working 8 to 5 job? Well, number one, if you are working a job and you still want to do this kind of stuff, that's kind of where my trading room comes in because I send out alerts. And so you can kind of be typing away at your desk, and basically an hour before the market closes, that's when I send out all my trades. And you'll see an alert come through there. It'll say trade alert. And then you can maybe kind of take a break from whatever you're doing for work and you kind of look over your charts, and hopefully your boss doesn't walk by at the same time, and you kind of look at it and be like, yeah, okay, I like the trade. And then you can go take the trade and then you kind of go back to work. So that's one way you can do it. Or if you do what my dad did, because he was an investor, he was not a day trader and he was not a short-term trader, you just adjust your trading. You switch over to monthly, weekly, daily charts and you just slow everything down. And I think, let me see if I can show you with, well, heck, Tesla, I know there's so much noise here, but if you look at Tesla, and if you were a longer term trader, how about this? And this is on a daily basis. This is where you kind of say, okay, I'm going to be looking at this once a day after work, and I just need to make my decision. Well, notice in through here, you see how price pulled back and it was below the daily 50, but you see how the Moxie indicator was above zero? It's what I call a trampoline move. That's actually going to be a buyable dip. And it took a long time for this thing to work. So this isn't something where you need to be like a really, really active short-term trader. You can actually get yourself into a position. And then it started to confirm right here when price actually started to hold the 50, and notice the Moxie indicator actually started to do even better before price moved. And then the thing popped up. So no, I think there are plenty of ways. You just have to figure out what kind of trader you are and what kind of time you can actually allot to trading, and you make your trading principle based around that. If you can't be at your computer, then don't be taking setups on a 15-minute time frame. Take them up on a daily with maybe an hourly time frame. Amit, happy to answer these kind of questions. I can answer all these questions in the Moxie trading room if you want to come in there, or during the live sessions. This is when we can really deep dive into this stuff. This is still kind of just a presentation, but I love the questions. Thank you. And can we set alerts for individual stocks on the indicator? So for Thinkorswim, what you can do is you can actually set the Moxie indicator as a watch list. I know that may not make sense to you, but you can actually say, okay, I want to create a watch list that anytime, any stocks or any stocks that you define, if the Moxie indicator fires, I want it to go into this watch list and I want that watch list to make a noise. And that's how you can set an alert. So yes, that's one way you can do it. You can basically have the computer system scan for you and populate as it's happening. So that is certainly one way. Other times I kind of watch stuff and then I set price alerts, and I will set when price moves a certain way, and that's how it alert me. So yes, there are multiple ways to do this for you. Robert, is the Moxie trading room included or it's separate? It's separate because in what we're doing here, this is really just the class. Of course, we have multiple different things that you guys can get, but since the trading room is kind of separate from just the class, we're trying to accommodate people who just want to understand the tool. Maybe you guys are great traders and you're just like, hey, I like this thing and how it works. I just want to learn how it works and add it to my own trading. I don't really need a room. So you can just get this. If you want both, maybe the customer support can help you out with that. Maybe they get a deal or something and they'll put you into the trading room along with the class. You can do both. All right, guys, let's wrap up there. Clarity, just to comment on Microsoft. Microsoft looks a lot like the software stocks. And if you actually look what I was showing you on Palantir earlier in the presentation, or even MSTR, the cryptos, they're all starting to look pretty similar. And Microsoft is looking the same thing. In fact, I do have some Moxie price triggers that are firing on Microsoft. So I'll just kind of put it like that. But yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I know we went a little bit long today, but it was kind of fun actually diving into some of these charts. I think I saw some of your eyes explode, especially Amit or whoever you guys were looking at the futures on the soybeans and the currency, and you're like, holy crap, that thing's actually working. Yeah, I don't ever look at futures, and here it is, and I can't even make this stuff up. So All the same principles that I teach you from day trading to swing trading to longer term investing. It's all the same. You just change your time frames. And so I think that there's a lot of application that this can do for a wide range of traders out there. And again, I'm here for you. You guys, even took this presentation, answer questions. Hopefully you guys kind of see what my personality is like. Always happy to be here, support you. I remember my journey, and I know a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into my journey. And I'm just here on the other side trying to make sure that people who want to succeed in this field can do so. All right. And yeah. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Mirza, Lorna. Anybody else, Renda, you guys who are all running this thing behind the scenes, making sure this kind of worked. And also, I know the time zone is different, so thanks for staying up late on a Wednesday night. Appreciate it. And then Adrian, yep, we'll see you in the Moxie room. That's awesome. And then any other questions, just direct them to our support staff, Simpler Trading, or support@simplertrading.com, or give them a call. Operators are standing by. All right, guys, thanks again. Catch you later.